When you approach a girl, when you open, be it by text, on an app, in person, don't let her lack of initial enthusiasm throw you. The majority of girls are quiet when you first meet. I have to convey this to guys, to men that are especially just starting out in game. You don't have any instincts yet. You don't have enough interaction with women to work off of how you feel, or you don't have any history. You haven't had enough practice or exchanges with women to really start reading yet. You don't know the difference between a shy girl, a quiet girl, a quiet at first girl, which is like 90% of women. 90% of women will be quiet at first, maybe even higher than that. Or she's disinterested, or she's socially inept. I mean, there's a spectrum of what can be nailed. But the problem is, especially when you're relatively new, you need to push and stick in there after the initial. You're going to have to work. Even if she's not showing you any indicators of interest just yet, girls take time to warm up because they're always being hit on by someone somewhere, and they're conditioned to be reserved. And it's just the way they are. Again, 99% of women are shy at first. They'll tell you that. And they can be a stripper. They can be an OF girl. They can have had 1,000 boyfriends. But when you meet them or you're trying to start a conversation, they'll tell you this down the road. Yeah, I'm kind of shy at first. And that's how, and so you have to work through that. You have to give it some time. One, they're almost all shy at first because they're kind of gun shy too, because they get hit on and they don't want things to go south. So they're very polite and they just kind of go along with it. But you have to stick in there long enough to where you either get a yes or a no, or they just wander off. You have to practice and you have to stick in there long enough. That's the real deal. And you'll see after a few minutes, they start warming up. They'll start showing some indications of interest. They'll stay engaged. They won't be looking at their phone, looking around. So you will discern over time girls that are interested and girls that aren't interested or are just like conditioned socially to be rude. And you want to avoid them as well. So don't let her lack of initial enthusiasm throw you. Almost no girl will be like engaged immediately. There's a few reasons. Like I said, one, they're getting hit on a lot. And two is they're getting hit on a lot by a lot of betas and guys that are kind of weird. And the girl, and Bunny clued me into this. They're like, they don't know how much time this guy, this weirdo, is going to take up of her life at that moment. So they're reserved. They're like holding back in case they have to like make an escape because they don't want to spend the next 5 minutes talking to this loser. So when you present yourself and you're somebody of interest and you have charisma and you have game and you are someone they would be or will become interested in, it takes a little bit of time. It takes a minute or two for them to go, oh, this guy is interesting, because the vast majority of men are not interesting. So when you're coming along, it's different. So there's a lag time. You can even see it if you ever go to YouTube and watch like street pickup, you can always pull stuff. You just like you can watch comedy shows and pull from that. You can also watch where they do street pickup, and you may never stop a girl on the street, which is fine, but you can use it in your like online game. You can use it in your social circle game, use it in your work game. But there's almost always a lag time between when he stops her and when she becomes more engaged. It's usually a minute or 2 minutes where she's kind of like discombobulated or caught off guard. and she's shifting gears. And then this guy's actually pretty interesting, and it's now the best thing that's happened to her all day. So you have to watch these things and watch the light go on in her eyes after he says a certain phrase or he's there long enough, and she realizes this guy's not just wasting her time. But you have to expect it that she's not going to be enthusiastic from the get-go. Just know that there's a lag time. Don't let her lack of initial enthusiasm throw you. Majority of girls are quiet when you first meet. You have to kind of overcome that and then get some momentum going. And you'll get better at this over time, where you guys go, you'll hear these guys that are veterans going next. It means they're better at discerning yes girls from no girls. He's looking for yes girls, and he can usually figure out pretty quick if she's a yes girl or a no girl. But you don't have those skills. Not yet. It takes time. It takes time and repetitions, just like going to the gym. And that's a real deal. Don't let it throw you. You got to stick in there long enough to where you're getting a definite yes or a definite no. Next